Yeah, I think that in biomedical science there are two broad areas of importance, not only from the perspective of a basic scientist, but also in terms of application to human health. The one area of obvious importance is infectious disease. We're suffering now from a pandemic, as I addressed in my opening remarks, that could have been avoided if we'd had more of a substantial and continuous investment of funds in the development of drugs, for instance, that block viruses, for instance, coronaviruses. This research lapses because the pharmaceutical industry tends not to have a consistent source of funding to support efforts that may not yield a big profit. And yet, here we are suffering trillions of dollars of damage to the economies of the world because of that failure of investment. So I think infectious diseases of all sorts require a more meaningful, consistent, and substantial source of support from governments and from philanthropies around the world. That's one area of obvious importance. Another area of equal importance is neurodegenerative disease. You know, around the world, although heart disease and cancer remain the number 1 and 2 killers of people, the progress that we've made in treating these diseases has been enormous. The lifespan of individuals who have heart disease or cancer has been extended quite significantly, and the approaches that have been developed and are now being developed show great promise of bringing these diseases under control. And yet, for neurologic diseases, mental health, neurodegenerative disease, there's virtually nothing. We still have no clue about how to arrest the progression of Alzheimer's disease. As the population ages, that disease will become more and more problematic. It will drain the resources of individuals. It will drain government resources. Parkinson's disease, which I've already addressed, and mental health. The ailments like schizophrenia and autism, there is virtually nothing to treat these diseases. So we need to explore at a more fundamental level what happens in the brain under normal circumstances and what goes wrong in these ailments. Because without that, we surely will not develop drugs for the future to treat these diseases of increasing importance. Well, it is tragic that nations are isolating themselves and putting up barriers to limit communication. This is a terrible direction, and many countries are to blame for this halt in communication. I would say that we need to restore and produce new means of communication that allow free exchange of information, not blocked by one country or another. In our own effort with ASAP, we have developed an online hub that we want and expect all the investigators in the many countries that we are funding to join and to be in a constant flux of communication, to share ideas, and to not be worried about establishing priority. I think with the WLF and any initiatives of this sort that engage people from around the world, there needs to be an active means of collaboration and communication, and that can be done electronically. It doesn't require travel necessarily. We've seen in the current pandemic that in spite of a lack of travel, we still are able to reach out and communicate. In fact, many of us have experienced a growth in that kind of electronic communication in the absence of air travel. So there should be no boundaries to the free exchange of ideas, particularly in basic science. There's simply no reason to not encourage communication among peoples all over the world. Well, I would say in reference to the specific examples of who won the Nobel Prize in recent years, it was and continues to be a recognition of individual creative initiative. And I think that still has a major role in developments. The thoughts that generate the most novel ideas come from individuals. Nonetheless, more and more, we see very effective teamwork to generate very important developments that require more than one person's knowledge and technical expertise. And although the Nobel Prize has not been given for teams like that. The Nobel Peace Prize has. The Nobel Peace Prize does periodically give it to a group of individuals who formed some effort at some peaceful project around the world. And the Breakthrough Prize offered in California to international scientists occasionally does give it to teams. They've given it to teams of physicists. So it could be that in the future we would have some prizes that continue to recognize individual creativity and achievement, but also other prizes that recognize group efforts. These, as I've said in my remarks, must be encouraged. And particularly for the biggest, toughest problems, it's going to take a lot of people working together to crack them to the benefit of mankind.